Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat.
And
this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's your girl Moni.
And this is Kat.
Welcome back to the Fake Ass Book Club, you guys. We're glad to see you. Glad you made it back. Friend, you look warm and cozy today.
I am warm and cozy. I've got on my winter, Christmas, this is our pre-Christmas episode.
It is.
So yeah, I wanted to be ready.
Well, you look ready, friend, and hopefully you guys are too.
You look festive.
I am. You said you're getting dressed up, so the pressure was on. I said, I can't be sitting here ugly and stuff, so I had to do it. But I'm really excited because we are talking about one of our favorite movies this week, you guys, The Imitation of Life. And I want to give you guys a brief synopsis on this film. So, the 1959 film Imitation of Life, directed by Douglas Sirk, is a poignant drama that explores themes of race, identity, motherhood, and social expectations. The story follows two women and their daughters as they navigate their intertwined lives over many years. Now, this is a very topical sort of description, but we're going to get into all of the just layered themes in this story. So before we do that, you guys, let's dedicate this episode, friend. What do you think?
I love that idea.
All right, guys, I didn't forget this time, so hands over your hearts. We want to dedicate this episode, as always, to our lovely patrons. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you're not a supporter of our Patreon, you guys should consider it. Definitely go over to Patreon /The Fab Podcast, where we have lots and lots of bonus content for you all. I want to dedicate this personally, though, this week to just really family, the idea of family, and the people that really invest in you as you move into your formative years. Because they're the best. And sometimes they're the people that gave birth to you, and sometimes they're the people who
you choose
or chose you. So, shout out to all the, ones doing the hard work of loving us. So
yes, and to that. Also, happy birthday to Fab Fam Danielle. Love you, fam. My dedication this week is going out to Melody Betts. She is an actress and singer and currently is doing Eveline in Broadway's The Wiz, the one that Amber Ruffin wrote.
Oh, okay. Amber.
So I went to go see Wicked last weekend. I loved it. And so I've been playing the music on YouTube and stuff. And I was like, oh, you know what though? I kind of missed the Wiz song. So let me listen to No Bad News. And I was like, I feel like Amber Ruffin said one of the actresses in the revival did a really good job. I have been getting my entire life to this song the entire week. I've been going to church. She should be such a bigger deal. She killed it. So big fan. So this episode is going out to her.
Okay.
Right. And I was dedication over because I was also asking. I'm like, are Elphaba and Eveline, are they parallel characters?
Good question.
I feel like because it's the Wicked Witch of the West. Right?
I haven't seen The Wiz. I will say that of all of the musicals in my life, for some reason, that was one that I didn't see a bunch. I didn't rewatch it and rewatch it.
You didn't have it on VHS?
No.
I had it on VHS. No. Now, granted, I was really little when I was doing a lot of the rewatches, so I haven't really watched it with adult eyes in a while. But I want to see the Broadway play. When it probably won't be here. We'll have to go to Chicago or something. But if it's anything like this, because then I went back and listened to the original Wiz, which was still amazing, but it wasn't this.
Okay.
I was like, ooh. I have to put it in the notes. Okay. I'll send you the link. But
I'm with it. Yeah. Beautiful dedication.
Thank
we
you.
love the arts, man. It's always gets our lives
so
here.
So much.
Okay, friends. So where do we even start?
Okay, here's where I want to start because, of course, this like most movies, it was based on a book, and we are a book club after all. So it was a novel from 1933 by Fannie Hurst, who is also a friend of Zora Neale Hurston.
What?
So so she's very familiar with the concept of passing. So if you've listened to any of our other episodes, this is something we've talked about quite a bit, the idea of black, quote unquote, black Americans who, quote unquote, pass as, quote unquote, white Americans. Putting all these air quotes because I don't think race exists in a real sense. It exists in a social sense as we've created these tiers, but we could easily live without them, and humankind has for most of its history, without the idea of like, you're a black person, you're a white person, oh, you're somewhere in between, don't worry about it. So, you know, this idea of like, we like to put ourselves into these little groups. And I believe Fanny, was it? Yeah, she was Jewish, I believe.
Okay.
Which I think it's important to bring up because I'm hearing an uncomfortable amount of anti-Semitic rhetoric coming from black people.
Oof.
And I don't like it. Like, it's dumb.
Really?
Yes. Like when people are like, oh, well, you know, they're, you know, Jewish. So I already probably or something like that. Yeah, I just shut that stuff down. I was just like, hey, you sound crazy right now.
Ooh.
So yeah. But just a reminder that historically throughout time, like, Jewish people have been the same victims of oppression and discrimination that black people have in this country. Like, people who consider themselves white have put it upon themselves that they need to keep us in our places. So we've done better when we've worked together to fight that instead of like just taking white people's side and be like, it's the Jews. It's like, settle down.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Good point.
Thank you. Thank you. But I wanted to watch this movie because I remember watching it as a child. And at the time I was going to a predominantly white institution. And it gets to you. Like when you're constantly being ostracized or, you know, just seen as less than because you're the wrong color. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because even when one of the characters in the book, Sarah Jane, she's our tragic mulatto, like Drake. And so but you know how it is. Like
it feels like that is, I mean, it's very tropey. However, there does seem to be some truth in it. Just like a lot of, you know, sometimes stereotypes. Like
well, because you're never black enough.
Yeah.
Or white enough. But it's the same, like, even if you're not technically a tragic mulatto, like, I was talking to my daughter the other day about how, like, at school, people will try to tell her that she's talking white. Mm-hmm. At the same time, she'll have other students telling her that she's hood. She wears braids. Yeah, my daughter's, you know how hood she is.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
So it's just the idea of like you're never doing it right as a quote unquote black person. But I don't know if you wanted me to give like a breakdown of like the plot.
Sure.
Okay. So it starts out, we're in like the 40s, 50s, something like that.
47.
It's 47. We're starting out in 1947, and we start with Lana Turner playing Miss Laura. And she just lost her daughter. She's looking for her daughter, Susie, at Coney Island. And she runs into a handsome photographer type named Mr. Steve. And he helps her find Susie. Susie's playing with a young version of Sarah Jane. It looks like they're like maybe 7 or 8, something like that.
About 8.
Yeah, Sarah Jane and her mother, Annie Johnson. And they're homeless, and so Miss Laura takes pity on them, and she's like, you know what, you can just come stay with us. I'm an aspiring actress. I need somebody to watch my daughter anyway. So Miss Laura, she starts getting some traction. She's finally, you know, booking jobs and stuff. And Mr. Steve, he finally gets a good job. He's like, hey, you should just marry me. And she's like, no, I'm too ambitious. And he was like, well, fine then. So, you know, we do a time jump. But the other thing is, like, Sarah Jane, she's obsessed with passing for white. She's very, very light. She has straight hair. If you just look at her, a lot of people just be like, oh, it's a little white girl. But she's not. She's a little black girl. So, which is something you're familiar with. If you come from a black family, there's all kinds of diversity. Here's a little secret. All white people came from black people. Go back further enough, you got some black ancestors. That's just how life works. So we do a time skip. The girls are like in high school. Miss Laura's made it as an actress. Mr. Steve comes back in the picture, and he's like, oh, I'm so proud of you. She's like, thank you. And so Sarah Jane, she gets this boyfriend, but he's white. She's still passing for white. And she decides that she wants to run away with him. I'm going to call the boyfriend Baxter. I don't think he had a name.
remember
Yeah,
too.
but yeah, she meets up with Baxter. And she's like, Baxter, we should just run away together. You said you want to get a job in Jersey, right? He was like, hey, that's a good idea. But first, is your mother a nigger? And she was like, our friend. But that's what he asked her.
He did.
And then he continues to beat all the dog shit out of her in an alley. And so she gets home and, you know, it all comes out and everything. And Annie's like, you got to stop lying about who you are. And Sarah Jane's, I'm as white as anybody. It's like, okay. So she ends up running off to the West Coast so she can be white. And Susie, turns out she's in love with Mr. Steve because she never had a strong male influence in her life. Yeah. As my daughter pointed out, she's like, you can tell neither one of them, the way they're acting, men, they didn't have a daddy in their life. And so, and Annie asked Mr. Steve, it's like, well, will you find Sarah Jane for me? I just want to, you know, make sure she's doing all right and stuff. And he does. And she goes out to see her and she's like, I'm not trying to get you to come back or be black or anything. I just want to make sure you're all right and everything. And so when Annie gets back to New York, she just died. She starts dying. And she's just like, man, I want to have this big old funeral with a horse-drawn carriage and everything. And then Miss Laura's like, wait, what? You had a whole life outside of me? Like, I didn't even know black people did that. And
like, you never asked.
And then Susie is kind of like, man, you made all this money, mama, but you never really spent time with me and stuff. Annie was more of a mom to me. And it's like, you know, I was in love with Steve, but actually I want to go to school in Denver now. So just peace. So then Annie dies. We're having the big old funeral. Mahalia Jackson's there singing.
Yes.
At this point, if you're not crying, your blood doesn't move.
I wept like a
I mean, like my mama
hungry.
died, okay? Like you're just crying and crying. And then at the funeral, they're putting the coffin in the carriage or whatever. And here comes Sarah Jane's high yellow ass. Turns out she was black the whole time because she throws herself on that coffin and just starts to weeping and wailing. And she was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. It's like, just like, it's my mother. It's like now it's way too late
Girl,
to be
she
loving
dead
your
now,
mama
right.
and all this stuff. And she's like, Miss Laura, I killed my mother. And
like,
then then the movie's over.
My kids were disappointed in the ending.
Were
they were like, what? That's how it ends with a death? I was like, a lot of good stories in like that.
I mean, yeah, that's
Welcome
how
to
it,
life.
I mean, that's why it's a tragedy. Because you waited too late to get the real love in your life.
These are your decisions. These are the consequences to the choices that you made in your life. What a story.
Man.
Like, honestly, every single time I've watched this movie, I have cried. I mean, like every time. And I did, because you were like, I think this is a good movie to watch, you know, with your kids and see how they feel about it. So I've made them watch it. So we watched it in sections, and I just had to finish the last part of it right like an hour before we were going to record. And I was like crying. And my kids were looking at me like,
They didn't cry?
no.
Okay, so my daughter was trying to clown me because I was telling her about the first time I watched it when I was about her age with my cousins, and we were just all weeping and crying and everything. And she's like, well, you cry at every movie. Duh. And I was like, true, but my cousins were crying too, and they weren't like that.
This is how I know.
This is how I know. And so sure enough, while we're watching it, because I was braiding her hair, and I looked down at her, she cried. She's thug tears.
The silent kind.
She didn't want me to know she was crying, but she was. There's no way.
So sad. They did not cry. In fact, the part where when Annie was dying and she like threw herself, Miss Laura threw herself on her, and all you could see like was the top of her hair. My son was like, "Is that cauliflower?" Talking about her hair. So that's those are the kind of children I'm raising.
You know what I appreciate about your children? I feel like I get to meet you when you were younger.
Wow.
Because I never, I met you like junior high. I never got to see like an adolescent version of you. And boy, oh boy, have I now.
I said, okay.
Okay.
And then my son was like, well, but like while I'm weeping, he's like, but why are you crying? And I'm like, shh. I'm trying to watch this. I was like, I will tell you after this. Like, I will tell you after this, But I mean, I think they knew why it was sad. Now, he felt sorry for me that I was crying. My son was kind of like, he kept coming over to me, hugging me. And my daughter was just like, I mean,
it's pretend.
This is just a movie, actually. So, I mean, she knew why it was sad, but it didn't
hit her.
It didn't hit her. Why? But yeah, it's the feeling like no matter what path you take with your kids, no matter where, if you dedicate your entire life to your child and do everything in your power to support them, make them feel loved and seen and blah, 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 like they still don't G for you. Or your kid that you like, you know what, I want you to see me achieve my dreams. Like I want you to know that no matter what you do.
You have the best schools. Bitch, I bought you a pony.
I did it all. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. I just needed you with me. You know what I mean? I just wanted you to see me. You did all these things, and it sounds good on paper, but I never felt that. I felt that more from the lady who you left in charge of me, who you knew nothing about. Who also, anytime you wanted to know anything about me, you asked her ass because you didn't know. It's like the helpless feeling of just being a parent and feeling like no matter what you do, your kids are just gonna be disappointed in your efforts.
It's like never. It's just always gonna be a disappointment. Well, here's the thing, though, because the title is Imitation of Life.
It is.
And so there's a couple ways to take it, because then you've got Sarah Jane, who's doing this fake life of trying to pass as a black woman. But to me, the interesting thing is like, well, I think everyone's passing for white because whiteness doesn't really exist. Like you have to kind of deny your roots in humanity to be like, oh, I'm a different type of human. I'm a white. And it's like, instead of just being like, yeah, everybody, we know this. Like, we know this from looking at animals. They come in different colors. We're not like those are a white dog and that's a black. I mean, they do. I mean, we will call them different colors, but they're both Pekingese or whatever. Yeah. You know, it's the same type of.
Have a stigma though.
They
but,
do.
I mean, that's still sort of lumped into the idea of blackness being bad though. Like it's still a construct because like it doesn't matter.
It's a curse. Like it's like, oh, that blackness is like, Well, and I think even growing up, I feel like I was sort of taught this idea that Adam and Eve were white, and then like either, depending on which version you believe, like either Cain or Ham was cursed with blackness, and that's where black people came from, which this isn't true. Like everybody, it's just if you, and once again, like school, they're trying to stop teaching stuff in school, but there's just dominant and recessive traits, and it doesn't make you more or less of a person depending how many dominant traits you have and how many recessive traits you have. No, that's just what you can or can't pass on. That's all it means. So, I mean, to me, the living in the truth feels better instead of being like, oh, well, we're white and we do this and this as white people. Because even Miss Lora, she's, she tried to make it seem like, did we ever treat you different? It's like, yes, you did treat Sarah Jane differently. Like when y'all would come back to the house, like after one of your little plays or stuff, she couldn't be out there in the living room with y'all. Like,
actually, can you help your mom?
Yeah, you were like, can you help your mom in the kitchen? Like Annie wasn't out there chilling. Like she was allowed to be here because she was working. Yeah. Like you didn't have any black people like that you
were friends and stuff like that.
Even though you like treating like Annie's over here rubbing your feet and stuff. It's like she's like, oh, thank you, Annie. That was wonderful. Like everything.
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. This lady's tired and sick. She's slowly dying of cancer or something. Oh,
Miss Laura. It's like, I'm just tired.
Yeah. It's like tired from all the racism.
Oh my goodness, it'll kill you.
Yeah. I do think, like that title is very layered in terms of just like the plot, like what you're saying too. Because I mean, like we're all imitating. Our life is an imitation of what we think we're supposed to be, whether that is a whiteness thing or a wife or whatever, or a woman. Because I thought it was interesting that, like, you have this, this traditionally beautiful, blonde, Barbie-like white woman who is a widow, basically. She's taking care of her child, and she ends up being like, okay, I'm going to save up my money to move to New York to, like, follow my dreams of being an actress. And I mean, at the time, I'm like, she kind of old to be an actress.
Everyone kept telling her to.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like...
But it's true.
It is. And then it's like you have this woman, you have these two different women in a different cast. And, their lives are kind of bound together. And you see this untraditional sort of life that they've made with for each other, with each other
successfully,
you know what I mean? And it didn't, like you say, I think it is important to point out that there wasn't like a man that was center in any of their lives, and it's sort of a critique of that, I think, maybe, like your daughter pointed out in a way, or
just
even
the way Susie and Sarah Jane were acting. Because even when Sarah Jane was talking about how she met her boyfriend, so that's when my daughter pointed out, she was like, ew.
Yeah, gross.
Yeah, because she was just at the grocery store and he whistled at her. And my daughter was like, gross. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't talk to a man. And she's like,
whistling at
she
me.
was like, yeah, you can tell she's lacking a father figure in her life.
Yeah. But even the audacity of like a single woman to say like, oh, I'm moving with my daughter as a single person to the city to pursue a career that, you know what I mean, is not like, for one, it's like technically both of them are in a situation where it's kind of a frowned upon thing, especially in the 1940s and 50s. Like, you know, the ideal woman, obviously when that man came up to her and they started striking up Steve, this relationship, like the right thing to do would have been for her to just marry this man. He's like, I'm trying to take care of you, make you a respectable woman, you know? And it's like, there was that tension of her like always sort of railing against that and being like, no, like this is still my dream. Like I'll just resent you. You know what I mean? And I think that's a real thing too. Like that critique of like women who want to pursue careers and have like ambitions outside of the house. Because I mean, men get to unabashedly do that. Like in family settings where a man is there, it's easier because you have a wife. You know what I mean? Like in a lot of ways, like Annie served as like her wife. Yeah. Because now she could, you know, like I can be the man of this situation.
Yeah.
And
I can go to work.
I can go to work and I don't have to feel bad because it's like you're domestic help.
Yeah.
This is what you do anyway. So like, why is it a problem if I'm going off to do this?
And it gave her a bump in status.
It did.
Like when she went to go see the agent and she was like, oh, will you call my house? And, you know, Annie, and she's Miss Meredith's residence. It's like, and then he looks at her, he was like, oh, you can got
afford
servants.
help.
Okay. But it's true that that does give you a bump.
Yeah.
So,
but that's why whiteness exists, though. Like I think that's kind of what we're saying, though. Like, you know, you see it playing out in a very real way of how her existing on a different cast, it elevates you. Like that cast has to exist to make you important. And so that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about whiteness. We're not talking about how they look.
Because if it was just a look, Sarah Jane could be white.
Exactly. And that was the Imitation of Life that was crazy to me too, because she even saw the absurdity of it in a way, because it's like, I'm as white as everybody in this bitch. Like, am I lying? I look white, right? Like, I think that's all it takes, really. Why aren't y'all accepting this? You know? And
well, because if she had ran off with Baxter and had some babies, them babies could have been, because ain't no telling.
Like
listen, here's the thing.
You're rolling the
Here's
dice.
the other thing, because if you're not familiar with black families and stuff like that, then, listen, this is why black women, I think, sometimes get a rep, because ain't no telling what our babies are going to look like.
You just don't know.
That would be what's crazy on the Maury Povich show, and they'd be like, man, Maury, that baby too dark to be mine. It's like, trust me, we make them in all the colors. I remember one of my family members, just to keep in mind, he was an older black man. These aren't my feelings. It's just him talking about it, okay? And he's like, I don't know not why niggas go out and get these white girls. It's like, we make women in light.
Wow. It was only that simple.
But yes, it's this idea of somehow once you've reached the right amount of whiteness, then like, which is just how we're in America, whiteness is, we don't really describe it. We just know it.
Yeah.
But if you really wanted to describe it, it's the correct collection of recessive European features.
100%. I think too, I mean, like, I always forget about the component of Miss Laura's daughter falling in love with Mr. Steve, Miss Susie. Yeah, because at the time.
Oh, can I make a correction real quick?
Oh, yeah.
About Susie. I think last time I referred to her as Doris Day, and it was Sandra D.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just from the Grease song.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm Sandra D. And but she says, like, she also said I'm Doris Day. So I get them mixed up sometimes. So just a correction from last time. My bad. But you said with
because you're not racist. That's what I hear you trying to say.
I mean, I'm American.
Like,
I'm a little racist. I'm working on it though.
Good.
I'm willing to do the work.
Good. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad
I am
to hear
awesome.
that.
Thank you for noticing. But no, you were saying Susie being in love with Mr. Steve.
Yeah, like that was a really weird plot point, because my kids were like,
oh, my daughter
when
too.
they went
She was
to
like,
dinner, it was like,
"Ooh."
my son was like, please tell me this isn't what I think this is.
I can't tell you that,
Why?
baby. But think about what it's like for Susie, though. This is the only man she's ever had in her life.
And it's like, you know, it's interesting because at the time, her mom's character was kind of like, okay, I think I want to, like, I'm successful, right? Because we had a little bit of a talk on Patreon about like how much money do you, like, at what point are you like happy? When do you kind of tap out or whatever? Like, she's
Like,
been
it's
in
enough.
the business. Yeah, it's enough. She's been in business all this time. She's made a name for herself. She has this lovely home. And she's kind of thinking like, I want to spend time with my daughter. I kind of want to be home. I don't want to miss anymore. But then she gets this call from this famous Italian director. They want her for this iconic lead role. And it's like, oh my gosh. You
And
know?
she got to go to Italy, though.
And I got to go to Italy. And so at first she was like, she was kind of going to go, but then decided she wasn't going to. But then he agrees to her terms to wait. Because I think it was like...
It was, she was graduating from high school.
Yeah, it was her graduation.
She's like, I'm not missing my baby's graduation for anything. And she's like, Mama, stop acting.
Yeah, please, girl. Now, listen.
Well, here's my thing. Why couldn't she have just taken Susie with her? Do you think your daughter would be upset if you took her
Take a
to
gap
Italy?
year, babe. We're going to go.
Or not even a gap year, just the summer. It sounds like it wasn't even going to be like years or anything.
Production, yeah.
Yeah, like you could just, but yeah, you could take a gap year or go to school in Italy.
Boom.
Like they have, do they have schools in Italy?
They have schools in Italy.
They do have schools in Italy. Like to me, I was like, that's the obvious solution. Just take your baby with you.
No, I couldn't.
I couldn't possibly.
Because then now, I mean, does Sarah Jane and them have to go? Because I can't just be, I need
No,
my help
Sarah
to come
Jane's
with me.
been in school. Well, she was supposed to be in teacher's
Nah,
college,
wasn't.
but she was out being a
She was
floozy.
thotting is what she was doing.
Thotting and bopping.
Yeah.
She was like, nah, I'm giving me a white man.
It just was like now she's building this sort of relationship with him because he's doing all the stuff she wants to do. He's not even paying any attention.
Oh, yeah, while the mom is in Italy.
While the mom's in Italy. She get kind of asked, like, can you just like, she
Keep
really
an eye on my
enjoys you.
child.
Yeah, which is kind of a lot to ask from somebody who.
I would not want some
What
grown
you
ass
mean?
man.
Yeah, like,
First
that's
off,
weird
here's the
and out
real.
of
This is
touch.
the realest thing in the world, and this doesn't sound good, but it's just real. Because I'm a single mother who has a very young daughter, and so if a man is attracted to me,
He's going
like,
to be attracted to her.
why would I trot out a younger, hotter version of myself?
Trot.
Like,
That's wild.
so I'd be like, could you hang out with this younger, hotter version of me?
Whose boobs are higher and taller and legs have no cellulite.
Yeah. Like,
And
what?
she's ignorant.
Oh, and
So
she's so
easy.
simple.
Yeah.
She's such a, well, I don't know. Not my daughter, though. She give you a hard time.
Man.
But still, no. Like, there's something in me that would push against that because you're not her father.
Big disconnect.
You know what I mean? It's a big difference when she's spending time with her actual dad. But if it's just somebody I'm dating, like even now, I don't want someone around.
It was always really weird. I think my kids picked up on that as well. Like, they were like, why are they so happy to see him right after they just met him?
My daughter said
They
the
were like
same
running up to this dude,
thing.
hugging him and stuff. Like, what the
But that's
fuck?
because they're used to having a dude in the house like all the time.
I
Like
guess
to them,
so.
that wouldn't be exciting.
Yeah, it's like, who is this Yahoo? Like, who is
Like,
this guy?
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
But I think that speaks to the fact that our children have very much had multiple male presence
Yeah.
in their family in their life. So like male randos, they're like, no, thank you.
No thanks. This is weird. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess for me, observing that again was like, damn, that is crazy. I can see how that would happen though, because he seemed like a nice man, I guess.
He did. Well, I totally understood it. Like if I
yeah.
had not grown up with a father and then handsome McSteve shows up.
Right. And it's like, my mom is tripping. He fine.
Right. It's like, you better lock this down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't, do you think Susie was really in love with him or was it just a crush?
No, of course. She was just,
Yeah.
no, she wasn't in love with him. Like, no. Like, I mean, he was a handsome man who was around and he was fulfilling this space. I mean, again, it's a lot similar to a lot of situations that happen with young women, especially like you say, when they don't have those strong male relationships. It feels, because it's different. It's different to get attention from men. And especially because he wasn't sexualizing her. He wasn't, he was treating her very dear. You know what I mean?
Like a
And it's
daughter.
like you would a daughter.
Or a niece, maybe.
Yeah, or a niece or something like that. But yeah, I think if you've never had that kind of attention, it is intoxicating.
Yeah.
It is very much like, oh my gosh, like this guy cares about me. Like it does feel, it feels nice. And so yeah, I
And
think
she was kind of
conflated.
mad at her mama for playing him to the left.
Yeah, she's like, he's amazing.
He's
you
like,
know?
yeah, it's like, and you just so you can run off and make these little movies and stuff.
Little movies.
That's how your kids do you,
They
though.
do. It's like,
I don't care what you do. Like, get over here and make me breakfast.
please, now. Hungry. So yeah, I mean, So like that was one of the plot points that always took me out. That I always forget about somehow. The Steve part that she was like in love with him. I always forget about it.
I remember it because I remember it was awkward.
It's super awkward.
Let's spend the next 10 minutes talking about Miss Laura's dress. from when she first reconnects with Steve and she does this play and they go to backstage or they go to the house to wait for the reviews. And it's just, to me, the other star of the movie was the wardrobe. That's why we're dressed up today. Because the 50s and 60s were bringing the fashion. As a matter of fact, that's when that kind of new look came in with like the cinch waist and the
circle skirt.
Yeah, with the full skirts. That was Christian Dior. Thank you, Christian Dior.
Christian is, and I think this is why when you asked me before, like if I had to pick a designer to pick, like if I just had a look and had to show up and be glam, it would probably be him. Because I'm totally into that retro look. Like I really love that very tailored. I love the scarf over the hair with the glasses and like the lip and just the very structured,
the gloves, the hat, the little perfectly cinched jacket with the little belt and with the perfect little shoes and the lighting, like all that Technicolor.
I'm into it.
It was visually, it's just nice to watch.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
So the dress, was that a Christian Dior dress?
I have no idea. We should do a deep dive into. I'm obsessed with that dress. I would do a heist. I would steal that dress. I want it. Not like I could even wear it.
There's no way. Because my daughter pointed out, she was like, Lana Turner looks like a Barbie.
She does.
She was like, you know how she has like the shoulders, like the wide shoulders,
like that. Hold up.
And then her middle goes in.
Giving.
I said, definitely Barbie.
It was just, every look was amazing. So,
oh my God.
But yeah, that was my favorite. I remember as the first time I was mesmerized.
I couldn't get over it.
Because it was perfect. Like it has that sweetheart line.
Oh my God.
And then just a little bit of scalloping, lace and sequins.
Beautiful.
Perfectly cinched, fit perfectly. There wasn't that little roll of fat going over the top when I have stuff too tight. And then and then it was cut that T-length.
Oh my God. And then she had like a satin wrap.
Shut the, I want to punch you right
now.
Push
her down. It's so perfect to the point where, like, I remember when I got married, I was like, you know what I want to wear?
I would want to wear
I want the dress.
That is what I want. That's what I want to be wearing when I run into my ex. That's the outfit she out on when she ran back into Steve.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this whole thing?
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, my God.
Well, and he brought a date, too. And she straight up just... Remember that chick?
He was like, I got to get back to Esther, whoever she was. And she's like, oh, she's not missing you. It's
she
fine.
Missing you.
She's talking to old boy in there.
Yeah, she's talking to Alan Loomis. You can just stay here with me.
Yeah.
She out of here.
In the kitchen. Trust me, she cares not.
Man, Lana Turner swept her right on out of here. You never saw her again.
No, you sure did.
Poor Daphne or whatever her name was.
What about, what other looks did you really like? I mean, there were so many.
There were a lot of looks.
So many looks.
I actually really liked the showgirl looks. When Sarah Jane, because that's what Sarah Jane, she was lying to her mama saying she was working as a librarian before she went to teachers college or whatever. But in real life, she was singing in the jazz club, you know, shaking it, man, a little dollar makes her holler. But actually, the little satin, it was kind of like the Playboy outfits.
Very Playboy bunny.
Yeah, a little Playboy bunny outfits.
Well, I thought it was interesting, and maybe this was on purpose, that, you know, so Sarah Jane ended up wanting to, like, she wanted to be seen too. Like, she kind of had that same Miss Laura vibe where it's like
that ambition. They both had that ambition.
But it's like, I know that I'm relegated to this cast. Like, I have to like the chauffeurs, like the men that I'm supposed to be attracted to. I'm not. The careers that I want to go to, teacher, boring. I'm trying to be a star like this lady, and how, you know, this sort of non-traditional family style that they had. Like, I felt like, oh, is this why? It's like there's this parallel sort of situation with Laura and Sarah Jane. And then, you know, you get somebody more wholesome like Sarah.
Annie.
Yeah, Annie. And then Susie's character.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh.
Yeah, because they were the heart.
Yeah,
you know, they were both.
They were way more interesting than the actual, like, I felt like the story was Annie and the girls. More so than it was Lana
but you know what? I think they had to have Lana Turner and Sandra Dee to get the movie made. And I think they even referenced that in the movie because Miss Laura wanted to take a role that her agent didn't want her to because she was like, what, you want to play a social worker? And there's the whole colored angle.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're referencing probably trying to get this movie made.
Yes.
And that was the whole thing. It's like, okay, well, we can't make a movie just starring black people.
You can't. And that's the beauty. To me, that's the beauty of this film, though, because it's like in real life, they're saying the story. It's like, we have to have white stars. Like, even if their stories are inherently less interesting, not saying that all of those stories are, but in this movie in particular, it's like clearly the stars is Annie, and like she's such a compelling story.
Dynamic.
Yeah, and it's like we only got to peel back a tiny layer of who she was, but you saw in the end at her funeral because it was like the city
turned out
for this lady because she was just so
Mahalia Jackson showed up.
Mahalia Jackson, y'all. Google her if you don't know who she is. Okay,
that part. Oh, that singer. I would be. That was. You're crying.
I have bags. I started to crying when Annie was dying, and then just continued off and on until the very end scene. Okay, I had a headache. And the only reason why I wasn't weeping incoherently was because my children were sitting there. Because I knew they were making fun of me just a little bit.
I can braid and cry.
Yeah, and then they were like, are you laughing or crying? I'm like, well, I'm laughing at myself because you guys are laughing at me crying. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, are you for real? It's like, yes, I'm actually crying. This is what it looks like, okay?
Oh, man. Okay. One of the other scenes that always made me cry, too, was when Annie flew out west to see, because Annie knew she was dying. So she just want to see her baby one last time. And she's like, there's just one more thing. I just want to hold you like you was my baby. She's like, okay, mama. And then she holds her, and then the little roommate or her little other friend comes in, and she has to pretend like her mama was her mammy.
That's not funny. The word,
but that was the word "mammy" is funny. Where she had to like basically deny her mama and be like, "No, that's not my mama. That was my." And she was like, "Oh, honey, child, you had a mammy." Yeah. She was like, "Oh my life." Damn.
Why does she look so grown though?
Yeah, she didn't look like an 18-year-old,
and she wasn't actually black at all.
Oh, I thought the actress was.
No, she was Jewish and Mexican.
Or was she Italian or something?
No, I looked it up. Hold
okay.
Let me pull it up because I was wondering.
There was something. I remember a long time ago I looked it up to see if she was actually black. But yeah, it's I guess legally black.
Yeah, she was not, because it was kind of like also why it was kind of like her declaration of being non-black was like, yeah, she's not though. In real life, she actually wasn't a black actress. Yeah, Jewish and dang it, I had it pulled up. I feel like the one window that won't open is where it's at. Rude. Anyway, she wasn't though. She was
in real life. But in real life, a lot of times you'll find, to me, it's funny when we did the Great Gatsby book about black man and white face. Yeah. And just the fact that, for people who don't know, like if you really read The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald, it was a warning shot to black people who are trying to pass as white. That's why Gatsby ends up face down in the pool. Like, he dropped
find you.
Yeah, we will find you. And the fact that they mentioned it in The Great Gatsby, the actual book, that there was this thing called spotters, which were black people that were hired by white people to point out black people who were passing. Which is so funny to me because it's like, oh my God, like y'all really don't be knowing. Like, it's so funny to me that remember Donald Sterling, who got in trouble for the little racism and lost his little team or whatever, and he got caught up by his mistress because he didn't know she was black, because he was always talking stuff, saying racist stuff, and she was like, you know I'm black, right? And he was like, because one time he told her, he was like, I don't know why a nice white girl like you wants to hang around those guys. And she's like, bitch, I am a light-skinned negress. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Blowing you away every evening.
And that's what ended up happening to F. Scott Fitzgerald. Like, he spent the whole summer, begging this girl out, not knowing she was a light-skinned negress.
And now what, though? It's like, now
and he was just horrified. He was just like, oh, I've tainted myself. It's like, dude, like,
did you though? You were enjoying it though. You had a great time. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and you're not white either. Like at the end of the day, like I feel like the children have a really good lock on it because when I was growing up in my family, like I said, a lot of diversity. And so when we're trying to teach children racism about like, we're black and they're white. And so the children would be doing a rundown. So they're like, okay, I'm black, you're black, granny's white, and like aunt so-and-so's white. And we're like, no, they're black too. And they're like, why? They look pretty white.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah,
No,
they're black too. And it's just like, this doesn't make a ton of sense. Also, I learned colors yesterday in kindergarten because my daughter would do that. She's like, they're peach.
Yeah, and I'm not black. What are you talking about?
Right, and I'm brown. Like if we're doing crayon colors, like this sort of color-based filing system we're using for people is a bit incoherent. And the children notice right away until they finally figure out it's like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
I guess this is happening. Yeah. So let's see. So the actress that played Sarah Jane, a Mexican-born actress.
I don't know. Mexican, they be kind of black too, though. They be trying to act like it.
That's true, but I mean, we don't know who her black grandma is, so we're talking ethnicity, not necessarily. Sure,
she's Irish, Mexican, and a Jew.
Yeah,
Bohemian
Jew. Yeah.
Oh no.
But I think the writer of the story has a Jewish background.
Yeah, that's what I said before. Yeah, Fanny Hurst. So stuff. I'm just kidding, because it's just like, could be Jew. But yeah,
so there you have it, guys.
There you have it. But yeah, in real life, people come in all kind of colors.
They sure do. I love this story. It gets me in my heartstrings every single time.
I'm really curious to read the book. If I can ever get a hold of a copy of the book, I'm curious to see how that reads. Yeah, because especially knowing that she was friends with Zora Neale Hurston, who herself was a light-skinned negress.
Yeah, she was.
So it's interesting just kind of seeing stuff from that perspective because we're so confident in our prejudices. You know what I mean?
God, yeah.
Which is always so funny because this stuff isn't real.
No.
It's not. This is just stuff that we've come. This is the concept of whiteness is a vestige of eugenics. I just got through watching Django last night, and he was doing the whole like phonetics about the little like skull dimples,
the way that
and stuff like that. Yeah. Once again, nobody studies phrenology anymore. It's a bunk science. It was a pseudoscience. It wasn't real. But for whatever reason, we're still using vestiges of that bunk science, like as if it's real.
Yeah.
Because that's how they came up with the concept of like, well, this is a white and this is a black and those because every time they would try to classify people, there'd be some anomaly and be like, well, what about this one? It's like, there's just some kind of colored.
Yeah, some kind of colored. The whole chart too, and crazy. In South America, the whole there's this huge. It's so in depth. Like when you're talking about percentages of blackness and stuff, they really have it down.
Did you see how Argentina wiped out black people? Like they did a whole eugenics thing where they really encouraged the birth of white babies. So they wiped out pretty much all of their black population for the most part.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. Because that's where a lot of the Nazis hit out after.
That's what you've said this.
Yeah.
You've said this to me
Yeah,
before.
so a lot of those.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we don't get to learn a lot about South America because they don't speak of the English. So
I want to speak of the Spanish, man. I need
or
to learn
Portuguese.
Yeah, I'd prefer to learn Spanish.
Yeah, but Brazil was, mostly going hard with a lot of the with the racism.
You know what? Let's take a break, friends.
I think
because that reminded me of something. I'm gonna see if I can find it, and maybe I'll share it when we get back.
Let's find it.
All right, let's take a break, guys. We'll be back. Welcome back.
White. I'm sorry.
Welcome.
White.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm gonna stop.
Welcome back. We're back. And Kat is ignorant.
And loud.
Don't know if she's gonna add that part in there. She might. That might be kind of funny. I don't know. But you guys, we're back.
This is one of my favorite parts from the movie when she's just screaming how white she is. I'm white.
I mean, you are though.
Why?
You totally look white to me.
She wanted it so bad.
Yeah. Oh, and then my son was like, "Well, just let her go. Why she keep chasing her?"
She said she can a child.
That's what I told him. I said it's not that easy, and he was like, "Just let her come crawling back. She'll come crawling back."
That's what was interesting too when we were reading Passing. And the husband in that book was like, for everybody who leaves to pass, they always end up coming back.
And it's funny that, I mean, I don't think my son has a lot of knowledge about that whole concept, but in his mind, he was just like, let her go. She gonna come back? I said,
This cold ass world after you get hoed out about it.
Right, because that's exactly where your life was gonna lead. Which you couldn't see that. You can't ever be Lana Turner's character. You couldn't be Miss Lora.
Never
They're not
will.
gonna allow you to be the leading lady, you know, and you think it's because your black mama keeps popping up. It's like, doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. Something's gonna give, whether it's a spotter, your kids' edges, once y'all have some, somebody's gonna know. And they're gonna make a big deal about it. And
you out here.
you back.
And then you back
you
getting
started.
beat up in an alley.
In the alley.
That
was messed up. That was messed up. They were like, wait, she's getting beat up because her mom's black? I was like, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, is your mom? Oh, man. And they start playing that rumble music.
Yeah, that was
scene
crazy.
is All right, so where are we rating this as?
Why don't you go first?
I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 diamonds because the little beginning, the little diamonds are falling and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie. I got to give it 5 out of 5 of whatever that dress came from. That dress, you guys. Matter of fact, I want to put that in my trust. You guys have to make a replica of that dress and bury me in it.
I mean, we'll take pictures in it, but then I'm taking it out and wearing it myself.
How do you know I'm dying first? That's
Fair
messed
enough.
up.
Fair enough. If
Damn it.
I outlive you.
okay. Here's the thing. Take just
Because I can't do anything if I'm dead.
You're right. That's true. I'm gonna be planted anyway. So just put me. I want to take pictures in that dress so that they can show them at my funeral.
But
So
I
I
mean,
better
at
do
that
this
point,
now.
we just Photoshop it.
Photoshop it on.
If
me.
we're doing that.
Photoshop it on.
Yeah,
me, friends.
Photoshop. Oh,
That's-
actually, I can do that now. I'm
Do
gonna
it
Photoshop both of
now.
us in the dress. I'm so excited. Oh, I can't wait to do that.
and that's free.
And we'll both.
That's.
we can both be alive.
You don't have to die anymore. to wear this
Yay!
dress.
Nailed it.
Oh, this is great news. I love how that ended. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's a much happier ending than the movie.
It is. It is. Be prepared, guys. If you watch this, be prepared to be sad. Okay. Okay, so then I think we should just spin the wheel really quickly.
Oh, smart.
So that we can know what we're talking about next week. So guys, spin it.
Okay, so next week we are going to be reading Wicked by Gregory Maguire. I'm obsessed with Wicked, guys. I know everybody is, but I really am now. I'd never seen the stage play before. My first time going into this movie was the first time I heard any of these songs. The story behind it. Now I'm like super into the like looking into Frank L. Baum and all this stuff and what he was on. I was like, okay, I'm into
It's the deep
it.
dive.
And it's gonna be airing on Christmas. That'll be
Is
our
it?
Christmas episode.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I got confused that easily. Yes.
That's okay.
Our episode, yes. I was like, Wicked is airing on Christmas?
I mean,
My bad. Well, our episode now. I'm there. We're here together, guys. I'm easily confused. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'm excited about it. So I have not read the book. I have not seen the movie. I did see the Broadway show, and it was amazing. I cried.
was this the one with Kristen Chenoweth?
I effing cried. I don't know who it was. They were
Okay.
here.
Okay.
It was I don't know. It was some years ago.
Okay.
But anyway, it was amazing. I really liked it, obviously. And I'll be excited to talk about this. This is a really great story. I think it almost kind of goes with what we talked about today, guys.
Being
Sorry.
the wrong color.
Racism.
Yeah, this
Ricky.
idea of like you have to be the right color. And even for people that we consider white, like it feels like they're never the right color either because they're always
No.
tanning. It's like, it's just this idea of like, how about I used to always tease my like quote unquote white friends in high school. I'm like, be white and proud. Don't be keep going to these tanning salons. Like it's,
No,
you
this
know.
is the pasty kind.
It's
This is the good kind.
the sneeches. They're just trying to get your money. So everybody who's selling the skin bleaching stuff, the people who are selling the tanning stuff, the important thing is to find out what your sunscreen is, your SPF, and do that.
That's true. Get those wrinkles, keep them blocked.
Yeah, or, I mean, not even wrinkles, like cancer, yo.
Oh, yeah.
Melanoma is real.
I'm
I'm glad you went straight to vanity.
my super.
But if that's
was
what's
like
keeping you
wrinkles.
healthy, go vanity.
I mean, the cancer part first, though, guys.
Yeah.
Then
Like,
the wrinkles.
keep that SPF, keep it right by the door, spray yourself up.
Yeah.
Whatever color you are, if you got freckles, if you got vitiligo, if you're super dark, super light, this is the right. Just think about how boring it would be if we were all the same color. That would kind of suck.
Yeah, I know, because I love the contrast.
Yeah.
Hence my husband.
But me, I'm someone, I'm not xenophobic. I'm allophilic. So I love,
what does that mean?
It's the opposite of xenophobia where you're scared of differences. I love differences. I like seeing different types of people. That's why it never made sense to me when you're scared of, like, when people be like scared of gay people or trans people. It's like, there's just like, it's just different types of people. How is this scary? And it's better. I'm glad there's gay women. I don't want to compete with every woman in the world over these dudes. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like, leave some for the rest of us.
Right. It's like, oh,
That's
you
funny.
chasing girls? Perfect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I just remember being scared of people though when I was little.
Of what?
You know, being scared of different looking people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know how like if you've never seen somebody, like, maybe, I don't know.
Oh,
You
like
know,
when
with
people
the-
see little people sometimes, like when little kids
just
see
something
your
you've
first
never
time.
seen. Yeah, or even just somebody differently abled, like, you know, like in a wheelchair whose leg is missing, like an amputee. Because you're just like, what?
What happened?
What happened? Yeah, you
Right.
had a lot of questions. But I do feel like, I mean, it wasn't like disgust though. It was more interest.
It was
Like,
more
what hap-
shock.
Like you said, what
Okay,
happened?
what happened?
So, but it is a childlike sort of reaction to differentness
Yeah.
though. And you just have to calmly, you know, remind your children people are all
different. Like, I think I was exposed to a lot of diversity very young. So it wasn't necessarily ever very shocking to me. Like, I just learned there's just all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Now, I will say a lot of times when I'm at the grocery store, because I kind of live out north a little bit, it's very obvious to me when I run into children who have not seen Black people before in person.
bet.
And it blows their minds.
Yeah.
They're just like, what?
She's a fuzzy hat on too. What? Yeah. I don't know though, but I think I am somebody just in general who, hones in on stuff though.
You do.
You know what I mean? So like if I spot something, it's not even in like necessarily in a bad way, but I just remember as a kid definitely being like,
It's like, I
what's
got
the
questions.
deal? Yeah, like, and I'm gonna spend time thinking about this now because I need to
Okay.
understand what
Fair.
this is. But anyway, I just feel like, you know, as you mature though, you kind of let go of that. So
Yeah.
I think maybe that's kind of what needs to happen. We need to like parent ourselves into understanding that there are different people and everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it's fine.
It's definitely fine. So before we get out of here, you guys, we want to do, it's kind of like a double Stranger Than Fiction.
Yeah, it's a double up. We're allowed to.
It's a double up. So I'll talk about the first one that I sent you on Instagram real quick because
Okay.
it kind of ties into our topic today with, you know, the racism thing. So I came across a post on Instagram from the Washington Post, and it was a story about, so it just says the gravity of crime and racism in Brazil is so great that people can be arrested on the spot, which I had no idea. But in this particular story, let's see. If
I
can
never
do
know what's
the-
going on there. They speak Portuguese.
No, this is crazy. So this is a lady who basically is getting 8 years in prison for making a racist comment. So this is 7 years after her bigoted attack on a Black girl. A federal judge in August convicted McCarthy of a crime of racism and handed her the type of penalty traditionally reserved for violent offenders and drug traffickers: 8 years and 9 months in prison. So on social media, she took aim at a adopted Black girl of these white celebrities, calling the four-year-old girl a monkey. And she said, I said what was on my mind, who identifies as half Black. So keep in mind, this is a person who,
Of color.
a person of color, who she lives in Paris apparently, and
Oh,
she's appealing for a reduced sentence.
Yeah, because she's like, I can't go back home.
Yeah.
Because if I as soon as I step down, it's on site.
Yeah.
And she also has a really bad nose job. It's bad, y'all. You can tell she's not super happy
Botched.
about her Black side. So it's just
giving Sarah Jane.
It's giving Sarah Jane
Yeah.
if Sarah Jane had
If it
a
just
botched
escalated, yeah.
nose job.
But I mean, it's crazy how what ends up happening is the people who it's the self-hating part ends up being way more diabolical than the outward hate, right? Like, so whiteness says that Blackness is the worst and you're supposed to hate it. So when you possess it, it's like, oh my God, like you're gonna go through great lengths, whether that's chopping half your face off and getting a botched nose job, or it's
Skin
bleaching your
bleaching.
skin and all that stuff. And part of me is like, you know, because the part of me that kind of feels for Sarah Jane, even though in the movie she's the worst,
She's
right?
the
like
worst.
it's hard not to hate her
It
guts.
is.
But I also understand how like self-loathing and realizing that this very superficial thing, like I feel like I've jumped over these hurdles and no one will let me be great though. Like I am for all intent and purposes white, or I can move around in the world at least and pretend to be and have all these things that are reserved for this certain class that y'all don't want me to have. So I do feel like that is kind of messed up. Like that's a sort of, like I can see how you're tortured maybe if you don't have self-love. And I think that's what, Annie's character was trying to do. Like, lying to yourself just leads to self-hate, and it just leads to people being able to exploit you and treat you wrong. So anytime you're on the internet talking about 4-year-olds being monkeys, meanwhile you're half black, it's giving self-loathing.
Right. And it wasn't just because she said it, like she posted it.
Yeah, posted
that was the
and
thing.
stood on
like
business on
sit
it.
down, 10 toes down. So
it was
kinda
on my mind.
And to give it context, like Brazil and a lot of South American countries have a long history of very anti-black policies. So I think in a way it's good that they're pushing back against that. So that was the whole thing. But our other Stranger Than Fiction was Luigi Mangione.
Yo.
Oh my goodness. You want to talk about like who saw this coming? But for people who don't know, I don't know how you missed it, but he lit up a United Healthcare CEO in the middle of like Manhattan. Took him right down, and it's created a very interesting phenomena in America, because generally when there's shootings, we're not into it. But for whatever reason, Americans are kind of into it.
There's a couple reasons.
But it makes sense because it's like Dexter, like he killed a killer. Because this man got incredibly rich by denying people health care. Like, it's important to remember, like, the privatized healthcare system didn't really jump off until Ronald Reagan. And it's this idea that Reagan had, well, I don't know Reagan, but like the cronies around him, that everything's better when it's privatized. It's not. Not everything needs to be a profit center. I think about education, healthcare. It doesn't improve it by making it for profit. And I think most Americans know that. They were even saying the police weren't looking for him that hard because they probably got people in the hospital. You know what I mean? Like, it's this idea like, hey, he kind of had that coming. And the fact they still had the meeting after dude got shot. He was there for a meeting with some other CEOs, and they were just like, well, let's say a moment of silence for Brian.
That's messed up. I did not know that.
Yeah, they still had that meeting, kept it pushing. And did you see that the chick, because Luigi got caught up at McDonald's. Like one of the McDonald's employees snitched on him. They're not giving her the reward money. Did you see that?
No, McDonald's. Or wait, who has the
FBI?
Really? Why?
This is delicious.
Please,
it's perfect because she called 911 and not the tip line.
Fuck you guys.
So this is now perfect. So you got denied because of a technicality. That's the whole story in a nutshell.
That is, period. Like, that's just it.
Yeah.
They're never going to give you the prize. You're not, it's like a rigged, it's like going to the casino. The house always wins, guys.
And did you see Burger King posted? They were like, we didn't snitch.
Yeah, I basically sent that to you.
You did? Yes. You sent that to me? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Said, this is petty beyond
I love it.
Petty,
I love it. But it's like, yeah, here you are in this minimum wage job, putting your life. Because when I tell you, when I had minimum wage jobs and people were stealing, I wouldn't say nothing. It's like,
not my
let
problem.
a murderer show up and see what I just. I'll get you right up out of here.
I'm
like,
my pen.
Like, that is none of my business. I remember one time. I don't know if I ever told you the story. This is when I was working at a barbershop. And so this dude ran in. We didn't know, none of us knew who he was. He just came in the barbershop, grabbed one of the styling capes, put it on himself, and sat down on one of the chairs. And we're all just like, and then the police come in and are like, obviously looking for someone. And we're just like, And then the police left. They were obviously looking for this dude. And we didn't.
What a clever gentleman. That's bold as hell. He just figured they're not what they, I mean.
It gave me the energy he's been to jail before and was not going back.
Oh my God.
I don't know. And then after they left, he left and nobody said anything.
Because what are you going to say? Well, first of all, you're trying to process what just happened though.
Yeah.
Who are, like what?
Well, what? But in that situation, I was going to be like, officer, is this the person you're looking for?
Because we don't know him. He just came in. And
What
then
do I
if they
look
were
like? Because
no.
I don't really understand what's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what's going on, and it's not my job to do the police's job. I'm here to do hair.
That part.
In the same way, if I was in McDonald's, I'm here to serve food, and you can see what happens when you quote unquote try to do the right thing. They will find some kind of way to not give you, because they know
That's
good and well they
disgusting.
could still give that girl that
give me a
reward
break.
money. She
Like-
literally put her life in danger.
Yeah.
Like, because if I don't know if me personally, I've never tried to stop a murderer before. I can't imagine it's a safe thing to do. Because she stalled him out. She was like, sorry, sir, your fries are going to take a couple extra minutes.
Oh, did she? Your fries are gonna take. Oh, he was like, "Ooh, them gonna be fresh."
But it gave me the impression, I'm pretty sure he was planning on getting caught. Like, he had his manifesto on him and everything like that.
Did you
and the
read it?
weapon.
I need to read it.
I haven't read it yet, but he, Trevor Noah had, Josh Johnson, he had a very clever sort of take on it because they were like, why is he still here? You know, he was like in Pennsylvania, but still, it's like, why didn't he leave the country? I think he was planning on killing another CEO.
You think he was he had a list,
I
hit
mean,
list?
he still had the gun on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he was playing, and he also had chronic back pain. And had
probably
been
got denied.
yeah, like it, and once again, he came from wealth. Like he had a privileged background. So to me, that's what's been interesting. This sort of equalizing force, like people, because he seems like a right winger actually. When you look into his background and stuff, so it's not like he's because we were like, oh, he was radicalized by the left. It's like no, like the left don't even like guns.
He was in the manosphere. Pretty
pretty
I think that
hardcore,
they were
yeah.
like perplexed by his social media. Like when you go back and look at his social media, because they had some progressive stuff, some kind of liberal stuff, but some definitely manosphere, very right wing type stuff. Like you say, his socioeconomic background was upper class. So y'all should be terrified.
They
That's
keep
what
saying
I
he
get
went to
from
an
this.
Ivy League school, but they won't say which school. I think that's funny.
Is it a lie?
I don't think it's a lie. I think like
don't
the
wanna be
school
they don't wanna be
associated with them, which
associated.
is funny. I was like, nah, go ahead and say
This
it.
is one of your alumnuses. Go ahead and put him out
Let's
there.
just find out what you. But he
Yeah.
doesn't seem like especially like super crazy. Like I mean, obviously he's got, you know, a little screw loose, but if you live with chronic pain, I feel like that can make you a little crazy.
You'll be unhinged, yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
So I think I'm hoping this will like maybe be a catalyst for some change because this like I said, the company's still working fine without him. He got shut. Like it's not like the company had to shut down for a while or anything like that. And he was also being investigated for some stock trading BS he did. Like he traded some stock, like $120 million in stock, shady stuff. So there was this idea because before they caught him, they were like, "Oh, well, there was this an assassination attempt and da 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 da." So I mean, I guess like to me, it's very difficult to mourn the wicked in this situation.
So do you look at him like he's a hero?
Who, Luigi?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, because he was willing to die over it. You know what I mean? Like, I think he knew good and well, like, this is something, like, the fact that he had manifesto on him was the fact that, you know, I might be taken out in the process of this. Like, I'm willing to stand up on business that this needs to stop. Like, it's the same sort of logic behind killing Osama bin Laden. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's this idea of, yeah, we're taking out this one person because it's going to make the other stuff collapse.
Yeah, but
So-
it doesn't, though.
Well,
It brings attention to it, for sure.
it does bring attention to it,
But
and it
it's
does.
still, like, if we
because you
think
know
if
what?
he dies, it doesn't stop.
You know what they rolled back? I forget who was trying to shorten the amount of time they were going to pay for anesthesia, and they rolled that back after the shooting.
As they should. They should be rolling some other things back, too.
Exactly.
So,
Like,
but we'll see. But
you're not going to be able to move exactly the same
not.
after we have this spotlight on you. So, and I like the idea of anybody can get it. It's just poor people die all the time. Poor people get shot all the time. This kind of idea that somehow it's extra tragic because it happened to Brian. No, it's not. Like,
Right.
here's
It's
the
tragic
thing.
every single time.
You reap what you sow.
Well, and I just feel like, you know, I get the idea of it. I get like feeling like, okay, I'm taking out this target, but I just feel like this is one of those situations where the house fucking wins. Like this doesn't dismantle the system. This does disrupt it for a minute. Our attention spans are too short. Our news cycles are too fast, and before you know it, we'll be on to the next thing. So unless people are really engaged,
There might be
and
copycats.
could be.
There
You know what I'm
could
saying?
be. But it does give pause. Like I'm not saying it'll change everything. And I'm really not. I don't like guns. You know me. I don't really like guns at all. But if we're gonna be using guns, we might as well be turning them on the people. Like it's like that. It's on the Patreon. If you want to see it, go to Patreon. When I made you watch the Rick and Morty episode, the Purge episode, where old girl showed up in the power suit, like, oh, you thought you couldn't be touched, which is why you were acting like that. So just a reminder, anybody can get it.
Yeah, it's screaming revolution, though. You know what I mean? Like it gives that vibe. I will say, I think that in the larger scheme of things, that if they aren't careful, this is like that sort of energy does culminate. Like it's wild to me that people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. Really?
I can totally believe it.
I can believe it. It feels very American. I feel like this is, and again, I feel like mainstream America, you should be terrified because this is what these conditions breed. And it's one thing when you feel like it's an outlier, when it's like, oh, this is some, weird guy
lone
sitting up
wolf.
in his, it's like, nah, like he was pretty
hot.
He was attractive and he was like,
he had a lot of stuff going for him.
So how you explain that? And I do feel like the way that he felt is how a lot instead feel. So be careful out there. That's all I would have to say about that. But
and maybe you can just find a way to live with $36 million instead of $100 million.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that sounds like hard. It sounds
but
really
you can
hard.
do hard
but
things.
You can do hard things, guys, especially if it means staying alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keeping other people alive. To me, I've never been the type to be like, I don't care if a bunch of people die as long as I can get super rich.
Yeah, pull the plug.
That's kind of like, that was the idea behind slavery. Where it's just like, I don't care if I exploit an entire population of people.
They're not even people.
Yeah, they're not even people.
Let's just declassify them.
And I'm super cool with it. No, it's a real ugly way to live, and it's also an ugly way to die.
Ain't that it? What an excellent way to get out of here.
Okay.
I like that. That sounded, I like that little sound bite. So you guys, we're done with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully if you're watching on YouTube, you enjoyed our festive outfits.
Yes. And hopefully your body belongs to you, no matter what color it is.
I know. And guys, do some things that make you feel happy. Be around the people that you enjoy. Make memories. It's this or nothing. Okay? So we'll see you next time. Peace.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.